cut down a tree to a corner. That's right. Then walk that way till you find the grass. That's how we've done it, and that's how we always do.
Now the older son already knew who he wanted to marry. He also knew how to cut the trees without how he wanted. So his tree fell and pointed to the farm where his sweetheart lived.
The younger son, who was named Nico, didn't have a sweetheart, but he thought he tried to look at out. Well, maybe he could be wrong, maybe he had talked to his son, but his son was going to the forest.
Good job, Nico. Let's see how we find there. A wolf or a fox?
Never mind, I'm fine, fine. The two young men went their ways. Miko walked through the forest for hours without seeing a soul, but at last he came to a cottage deep in the woods.
I know I found a sweetheart.
But when he went inside, he saw no one.
All this way for nothing.
Miko looked around, only this being inside was a little mouse on the table. Standing on his hind legs, it gazed at him with large bright eyes.
Did you say something? Of course I did. Now why don't you tell me your name and what you came for?
Miko had never talked with a mouse, so he only felt when he was back.
My name is Miko and I came looking for a sweetheart.
Oh, Miko, I'm glad to be your sweetheart.
But you're only a mouse.
That may be true, but I can still love you faithfully. Besides, even a mouse can be special. Don't feel my hurt.
With one finger, Miko slapped the mouse's back.
Wow, that sounds so bossy. It feels like Valvin, just like a down on the princess. That's right, Miko.
And as he petted her, she handed him kisses.
Miko's sweetheart will I be. What a fine young fantasy. Down the velvet I do wear like a princess fine and rare.
Miko looked into his large bright eyes and thought she was quite nice for a mouse. And since he found no one else, he said,
Okay, little mouse, you can be my sweetheart. You won't be sorry.
Miko wasn't so sure, but he just stroked her very fine.
when Miko got home, his brother was already boasting to their father.
My sweetheart has rosy red cheeks and long golden hair. Sounds very nice. What about yours, Miko? Yes, Miko. Did you find a sweetheart with a nice fur coat?
Now Miko didn't want to admit his sweetheart was a mouse, but he said,
Mine was a velvet gown, just like a princess.
his brother stopped laughing.
The farmer said,
Well, it sounds like Miko can be pointed a good way too. But now I must catch both your sweethearts. Tomorrow I'll ask them to leave you some cloths and bring it back home to me. That's how we've done it, and that's how we always will.
They started out early next morning. When Miko reached the cottage in the woods, there was a little mouse on a table jumping up and down in happiness.
Oh, Miko, come back here. Is this the day of our wedding?
Miko sighed and gently stroked her fur.
Well, Miko, you look so sad. What's wrong?
My mother wants to but nothing to the only mouse.
That may be true, but I'm also your sweetheart. And surely Miko's sweetheart can leave. You must be tired from your walk. Why don't you rest while I work?
Miko lay down on his bed in the corner, and the little mouse sang him a pretty lullaby.
Miko's sweetheart will I be. What a fine young fantasy. Cloth of linen I will weave. Out of the linen must leave.
when the little mouse was sure that Miko was asleep, she picked up a play doll and put it in.
Out of the mouse holes all around the room poured hundreds of mice. They all stood before the table gazing up at her.
Hurry. Back to stand at the final class.
The mice rushed from the cottage.
1, 2, 3, and back they were, each with kind of back.
First they spun it into yarn and spinning it up. Whir. Some went to pedals, some fed to flat.
Some rode around with the wheel.
Then they strung the yarn on the loom and wove it into cloth.
Swish, thump, swish, thump, swish, thump.
Some worked the pedals, some rocked the beaters.
Some failed to shuttle back and forth.
At last they cut the cloth from the loom and tucked it in the nutshell.
Now, off with you.
And they all scampered back to the mouse hole.
Miko, wake up. It's time for you to go. And here's something for your father.
Miko figured the nutshell.
He didn't know why his father wanted to say that he said.
When he got home, his brother was proudly presenting the cloth from his sweetheart. The farmer looked it over.
So, they're leaving. They're not just simple folks like us. What areas you go?
Miko blushed and handed him the nutshell.
Look at that. Miko left her closet
Then he pitched at something outside of the pool. Out came Lennon, flying beyond belief. It came coming to yard after yard after yard.
Miko's brother gasped and opened mouth, and Miko did too.
Surely there is no better weaver than Miko's sweetheart. But both your sweethearts will do this time. Tomorrow you bring them home to the wedding. That's how we've done it, and that's how we always will.
When Miko arrived at the cottage next morning, the little mouse again jumped up and down.
Oh, Miko, is this the day of our wedding? It is, little mouse.
But she sounded more alone than ever.
Why, Miko, what's wrong?
How can I bring home Mom's marriage? My father and mother and all our friends and neighbors will laugh and think I'm a fool.
They might think so indeed, but Miko, what do you think?
Miko looked at the little mouse, gazing up at him so serious with her large bright eyes.
She thought about how she loved him and cared for him.
I think you're as sweet as any sweetheart can be. So let them laugh and sing with their eyes. Today you will be my bride.
Oh, Miko, maybe the happiest sound in the world.
She rang her sleigh bell, and to Miko's astonishment, a little carriage raced into the room.
Miko, are they going to help me down?
Miko lifted her from the table and set her in the carriage. The wraps took off and the carriage sped from the cottage, so that Miko had to rush behind to shop.
While he hurried along behind her, the little mouse sang a big song.
Miko, sweetheart, will I be? What a fine young man is he. In a carriage I will ride when I go to see his bride.
At last they reached the farm, and then the spot for the wedding on a bank of lovely, swift flowing stream. The guests were already there enjoying themselves, but as Miko came up, they all grew silent and serious in the chair. Miko's brother stood with his bride, gasping in disbelief. Miko and the little mouse went up to him.
That's the stupidest thing I ever saw.
And with one quick kick, he sent the carriage, the rat, and the mice onto the tree. Before Miko could do the thing, he was heard more than once.
What have you done? You killed my sweetheart. Are you crazy? That was only a mouse.
She may have been a mouse, but she was also my sweetheart, and I really did love her. He was about to swing at his brother when his father called out, "Miko, look!" Now all the guests were staring downstream and pointing and crying out in wonder. Miko turned into his amazement, saw 4 black horses pulling a carriage out of a stream.
The coachman sat in front, the coachman behind, and inside was so lovely princess in a gown of silver velvet.
Miko, aren't you going to help me down?
Are you the little mouse?
I surely was, but no longer. A witch enchanted me with a spell that could only be broken by one brother that wanted to marry me and another who wanted to kill me. But sweetheart, I need a change of clothes. I can't be wet at our wedding.
And a grand wedding it was. With Miko's bride, the wonder of all, the farmer could hardly stop looking at her.
Of course, Miko's brother was a bit jealous, but his own brothers were quite nice, until he was jealous.
The next day, the princess brought Miko back to her cottage, but it was a cottage no longer. It was a castle with hundreds of servants.
And there they made their home happy.
And if Miko and the princess had any sons,
You know that's how they choose their bride.